And welcome to the first 100 days. I'm Martha McCallum. The controversy over Donald Trump's election hasn't taken a breather since November the 8th, and it's getting even more raucous, as it turns out, as the president-elect prepares for the biggest moment of his life. This Friday at high noon on the steps of the U.S. Capitol, where 44 others have gone before him, he will take the oath of office for the highest office in the land. Unconventional as always on this MLK Day today, a battle royale played out between Mr. Trump and none other than civil rights leader Congressman John Lewis, after Lewis said this.
Do you plan on trying to forge a relationship with Donald Trump?
You know, I believe in forgiveness. I believe in trying to work with people. It's going to be hard. It's going to be very difficult. I don't see this president-elect as a legitimate president.
How's that for forgiveness? Lewis representing a crowing chorus of Democrats intent on everything in their power to undermine the next president. In moments, we will speak with Kellyanne Conway. She is incoming White House counsel to the president-elect Trump. Then we will hear from Clinton campaign national spokesperson Brian Fallon. But first, let's go to our man in Washington, Ed Henry, live in the nation's capital to lay it all out for us. Good evening, Ed.
Good evening, Martha. When Donald Trump left the door open to not accepting the legitimacy of a Hillary Clinton win, you will remember the Democratic nominee declared it was horrifying. Horrifying, she said. Now Congressman John Lewis and other Democrats don't seem so horrified. At least 30 of them now boycotting Friday's swearing in. Lewis did the same in 2001, we should note, and now actually declared in a Miami speech that on this day, honoring Dr. King, the nation needs, quote, more love, not hate. Ironic, since Lewis did not have much love for Mr. Trump this weekend, saying he was not a legitimate president and thus would not work with him. New York Times columnist Paul Krugman went even further, asking, quote, is it okay morally and politically to declare the man about to move into the White House illegitimate? Yes, it is. In fact, it's an act of patriotism. The president-elect himself met today with Martin Luther King III, the son of the slain civil rights hero, who had a not-so-subtle message for all sides.
When we work together, we know we can roll up our sleeves. There's nothing that we as Americans can't do.
But one of Mr. Trump's former Republican rivals in those GOP primaries, Senator Marco Rubio, he attended that Miami breakfast with John Lewis and said the civil rights hero should be attending the inaugural, though Mr. Rubio also seemed to go after Mr. Trump a bit by saying he shouldn't have lashed out at Lewis on Twitter.
It's a peaceful transfer of power, which is a distinguishing characteristic of our republic. That said, I also had hoped that the president-elect would have responded differently, given everything that John Lewis means to our country. But people make their own decisions, and that's where we stand. But that's how I feel about it.
But we should also note advisors to Hillary Clinton are not calling for peace either. Neera Tanden has changed her avatar on Twitter to a single word: resist. While a former Clinton spokesman, Brian Fallon, who you just mentioned, has said Mr. Trump is defensive because he's trying to, quote, cling to whatever legitimacy he can. The Clinton camp, apparently, not so horrified anymore. Martha?
Thank you very much. Joining me now with more on this, incoming White House counsel to President-elect Donald Trump, Kellyanne Conway. Kellyanne, good evening. Good to see you tonight.
Hi, Martha. Congratulations on your show.
Thank you. It's great to have you here on night one as we go through the first 100 days of the Trump presidency. But, the question that was raised in Ed's piece is a valid one. Why did President-elect Donald Trump sort of mix it up here? I mean, he could have let this pass, and it wouldn't have been the lead story on every broadcast tonight.
Oh, something else would have been the lead story on every broadcast tonight then, Martha. Look, let me just say again, I said it on Fox yesterday, it needs to be repeated. Congressman Lewis is a civil rights and voting rights legend, icon. He has his place in history, and he deserves that, and we all respect that. That's why it's disappointing to have somebody with that platform go out and say a president who was legitimately elected and is his president and all of our president, that he somehow was not elected fairly and squarely. Your show is about the next 100 days, but these conversations tend to be about the last 100 days. And that's not healthy for our body politic. We will end this week with a new president who won 306 electoral votes. It wasn't close. It was not a squeaker. You can ask Brian Fallon why they spent more money in Georgia and Arizona than they did in Michigan and Wisconsin, two states that she lost because they were caught unaware. You know, on good days we were ignored, on most days we were mocked, but we responded with a master communicator, brilliant connector, Donald Trump, with the American people. Now, Donald Trump calls himself a counterpuncher. He does not draw first blood. That was the case here too. You can respect Congressman Lewis's vaunted place in our history and still defend yourself and wonder why in a week that starting off a week where you end up being the President of the United States, he has to say that about your election. The Hillary people have tried every excuse, Jim Comey, Russian hacking.
Understood. But, you know, when you look at this
weather
list, Kellyanne, of 33 congressmen and women who are not going to show up, I mean, what is Donald Trump, what's his response to that? You know, when you look at this situation with him, you know, is he disheartened by that? Does it make him angry? Does he call them up? Does he say, you know, look, let's get together and fix this?
I was with him today. He wasn't angry at all. In fact, he was very heartened that the son of Martin Luther King Jr. would be with him for what Martin Luther King III said today was a, quote, constructive conversation, that he would be with him on the day, the national holiday that honors his father's legacy and his father's movement. And so that is the way Donald Trump is celebrating Martin Luther King Day. He met with the son, and his son came out and told the media, Martha, that they had a great conversation. He thinks that both sides were a little in the heat of the moment on the other issue you're mentioning, and that moving forward, we have to work to solve the problems of our nation. Something that you will hear as a theme from Donald Trump this week, Inauguration Week, and you will know from moment one of his presidency, he's a man of action. And let me say something else. Martin Luther King III today said that his father would be very dismayed to see 50 to 60 million people in poverty. Right. We agree. President Trump and Vice President Pence agree, and we as a nation need to do something about that. Apparently, Americans didn't have confidence that Hillary Clinton would do much to help that, the 50, 60 million people in poverty.